Something a little more glamorous, African Fashion International has revealed its ultimate gold collection. This collection includes pieces acquired by AFI founder Dr. Precious Moloi Motsepe and pays homage to Elizabeth Taylor, who was fond of the color gold. Top models like Heidi Klum and Rosie Huntington-Whiteley has been spotted wearing the line on international runways. Let's bring in Buhle Mbonambi, who is the AFI spokesperson, for more on this. Good evening, Buhle. Thank you very much for joining us here on Newsnight. First and foremost, indulge us. What exactly is the ultimate gold collection?
Good morning, good evening rather, Abigail, and
Yes.
good evening to the viewers. So basically the gold collection is a special 38 special garments that were acquired by Dr. Precious Moloi Motsepe, who you've already mentioned that she's the founder of African Fashion International. She acquired this 10 years ago at the 2013 AMFA Cinema Against AIDS Gala, which is hosted every year during the Cannes Film Festival. And these gold collections were curated by Karine Rootveld, formerly of French Vogue. And she basically asked 38 of the biggest brands around the world to create 30 gold garments in tribute to Elizabeth Taylor. So the AMFA Gala is basically a gala that basically raises money for HIV/AIDS research. And so it was important for Dr. Precious to make sure that, she acquires this collection as a way for her to contribute to HIV/AIDS research. As you all know, how much it has affected the African continent and also South Africa. So for her, it was a coming together of two things that she loves the most: philanthropy and also the creative industry.
Buhle, the pieces are absolutely stunning. I mean, some of us can only dream of one day wearing pieces of this stature. We've heard of two individuals, Heidi Klum being one of them, who's adorned the garments. Who else are some of the famous faces who have worn these pieces?
I mean, at the fashion show itself, you had 38 of the world's top models. You had Carolina Kokova, you had John Cottoreno, you had John Smalls, you even had Julia Royston Rootveld, who is Karine Rootveld's daughter, with the collection. Dr. Precious herself has worn the collection. She wore it 2 years later at the AMFA Gala in 2015, where she wore one of the pieces, which was a Gucci gown from the gold collection. So basically, the gold collection is not just those garments, but it also encompasses different artifacts that she has collected over the years, as AFI celebrates 15 years of existence this year. So this unveiling of the gold collection is basically telling a story of this company that was like, we're going to take on the global fashion industry, and you're going to show them what is possible as beautiful stuff that's being produced in Africa. And so acquiring the gold collection and now showing it to an African audience is a way for Dr. Precious to say, listen, this is the start of something new. This is the start of something amazing that's going to be all about celebrating the world of art and fashion.
We love that. You've mentioned Gucci. Who are some of the other designers that are part of this collection, or fashion houses that are part of this collection?
Yeah. Also, you've got Versace, you've got Valentino, you've got Tom Ford, you've got Comme des Garçons, Altuzara, and J.W. Anderson, and then, of course, Tom Brown, who's a New York-based designer. One of the few times that he's ever done anything for women's wear. It was a beautiful white gown with like gold flakes. That was one of the big draw cards that we when we launched the collection at Cape Town Fashion Week. Everybody just gravitated towards that particular garment, and that's why it was also front and center. So yeah, so at Cape Town Fashion Week, we actually had silver collection as well. So it was introducing the gold collection, which is a foreign or rather global collection, with a silver collection of some of the finest artists and designers from the African continent. Speaking of brands like Christian Gabriel Totoy, you've got Nicholas Kaus, you've got Etienne Basi, you've got Tula Sindin and David Lale, who all feature in the silver collection, another one of a personal collection founded by Dr. Precious Moloi Motsepe.
It sounds like a girl's dream walk-in closet, Yeah. Talk to us about how Dr. Precious Motsepe then acquired this collection, a collection of the standard and magnitude. What was the process?
So basically it was the Cinema Against AIDS Gala basically is all about, raising funds for HIV/AIDS research. It was founded by Elizabeth Taylor And she basically was like, we need to do something about this pandemic that is taking so many people away from us. And so when Karine Rooitveld curated this collection, she basically contacted all the big people in philanthropy, business, fashion to come together to say, listen, here's an opportunity for the fashion industry to contribute to HIV/AIDS research. And that is how Dr. Precious was able to acquire, because it was a very spirited auction with Sharon Stone, the actual Sharon Stone actually being the auction master. And after a lot of bidding from key people around the world, it was acquired by Dr. Precious. And so after 10 years of kind of like saying, oh, I want to keep this secret for a bit, she's like, you know what, actually, I acquired it and I want the world to see how beautiful this collection is. But not only just that, it's all about this collection actually helped us contribute to HIV/AIDS research.
And a sneak preview was indeed showcased at the Cape Town Fashion Week in March, as you mentioned. How was it received? What was the response from the public and South Africans?
Yeah, it was like, you know, normally I would just go be stationed there just to see how people react. And everybody was so excited because not every day that you come across a Valentino garment, a Tom Ford, a you know, a Gucci garment. But everybody was just like, what is going on here? What is this beautiful thing? And so they were scanning the QR code that we had there, telling the story of the collection. It was a museum style setup because we wanted not just people to interact with the garment, but actually to see it's actually fashion with purpose. There's a bigger story behind it, and the elements of the silver collection with the African designers just kind of put it together because AFI is all about platforming African designers for a global audience.
And talking about a museum-style setup, this collection is actually the start of the AFI Museum of Art, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us a little bit about the museum, and will it be open to the public at large? How will it function and work?
Yes, so it's still early days, but this was just a precursor to what's to come. I mentioned earlier how Dr. Precious over the years has collected different artifacts from fashion to art to jewelry that is very rare, from the continent and also around the globe. And this is basically the start of saying we've got this beautiful fashion, beautiful works of art that is just there, just waiting for everybody to interact with. And these are garments that we hope that will change the narrative and of what constitutes fashion and what constitutes African fashion, and also the importance of us starting to appreciate the fashion and the art that comes from the continent. So it's still early days, but it's going to come by later, and I hope that we'll be able to share that information with you soon.
We hope so too. Buhle, just lastly, you did mention earlier that there are specific ties to the HIV and AIDS pandemic. How exactly does this collection then tie in fighting that battle?
Yeah, so this collection was basically curated to raise funds for AMFA to contribute to HIV/AIDS research. When Elizabeth Taylor founded AMFA in the 1980s, it was all about making sure that the creative industry comes together to contribute in a meaningful way to fight against HIV and AIDS. So this particular collection, which was auctioned off for 1.2 million euros, that fund, that money went back into funding HIV/AIDS research, which has, AMFA works a lot with organizations on the continent that actually make sure that more research is done in finding ways on how we can curb the ongoing pandemic.
Fashion with a purpose. I absolutely love that. Buhle, thank you very much for your time, for your insights and sharing this beautiful collection with us. We appreciate you joining us tonight. That was Buhle Mbonambi from African Fashion International, just chatting to us about the stunning collection, the ultimate gold collection that was acquired by Dr. Precious Motsepe. It was auctioned off for 1.2 million euros, and that money went towards research for HIV and AIDS.